Hello all and welcome to the channel. As you can see, I'm using some new technology to present to you this video from outer space. I have a good one for you. In this video, I will be ranking the albums of Stained. They have a new album out called Confessions of the Fallen, so I thought this would be a good time to do a ranking. They only have 8 albums, so it should not take too much time. This will be a worst to best ranking, and this is all just my personal opinion.
What is it you're rolling? Now that your mama's Ford Focus got stolen, but it don't.
Coming in at number 8 is the self-titled album from 2011. This was a return to their heavier sound after a few albums that were more on the lighter side. Even though it's a heavier album, I don't think it's that good. I like some of the songs, but I feel that they're trying to sound like more other nu metal bands like Korn as opposed to the sound of Break the Cycle and Dysfunction. That's what they were going for. The standout track is a rap song called Wannabe. This has Snoop Dogg. In my opinion, that came out 10 years too late. The opening track, Eyes Wide Open, starts with their signature bass guitar intro, goes into a fairly heavy song. The album is a mix of heavier tracks, as I mentioned, with some clean and harsh vocals. They also have some atmospheric sections throughout the songs. There is one ballad, that's the last song, called Something to Remind You, which might be actually my favorite song on the album. I still like the album, but something has to come in the bottom, and this is my least favorite.
You're the fire.
Coming in at number 7 is The Illusion of Progress from 2008. This is a laid-back type of album, but I like a lot of the songs. They definitely started to experiment more with this album. There's a song called Tangled Up in You, which is a country ballad. I like it a lot. There is one song that sounds more like classic Stained from their 14 Shades or Chapter 5 period. That's called The Way I Am. I think that one's pretty good as well. There's another ballad called Believe, which is a typical Stained ballad, and Save Me is another ballad. And there's lots of ballads on this album. The lyrics are good on this album. They're relatable. Most songs have guitars with clean tones, and the album in general sounds more like that post-grunge sound. There are a few heavy songs, like the ones they did on the first albums, but the album in general is mostly blues, country, 2000s hard rock, more in the style of Fuel, Daughtry, Three Doors Down, like that. Overall, not bad. It's a laid-back and radio-friendly album. At number 6, I have 14 Shades of Grey. This was a follow-up to Break the Cycle, and another one with a post-grunge sound. I think this one is a step down from the previous album. But that being said, there's still some songs I like here. Yeah, I'm Open to Price to Play. That one's one of the heavier songs in this album. I like that. Then there's a ballad, So Far Away, which is another one I like. Then there's a song called Fray, not to be confused with The Fray from the new album. That's another laid-back song. There's a ballad called Zoe Jane about Aaron Lewis's newborn daughter. That's a song I've always loved. I really like that one. There's a tribute to Lane Staley, who died around the same time. The song is called Lane, and it has this Alice in Chains type of sound, so I like that one a lot. This album in general is also kind of laid back, a lot more emotional ballads on the album. It's not too bad. I like a few of the songs, but I would say this album also has some filler on it. For that reason, I have it ranked at number 6. At number 5, I have Chapter 5 from 2005. I didn't plan that. It just happened to fall that way. This one's better than 14 Shades. This one, they have post-grunge and nu metal sound. It's also a laid-back album. I think they get a little heavier when they did 14 Shades of Grey. We have the song Right Here. That's a good song, a typical Stained ballad. Paper Jesus is one of the harder rockers. Schizophrenic Conversations, another good one. One of their ballads, I still enjoy that one. Another ballad, Everything Changes. That's kind of going in that country direction, but has really great lyrics. There's a heavy song called The King of All Excuses. That's more of that Dysfunction sound. And another cool deep cut called Reply, the last song on the album. I like that one. It's more straightforward rock. Overall, the album is kind of relaxed, but the songwriting is very good, and for that reason I have it ranked at number 5. At number 4, I have a surprise, which is Tormented from 1996. I think a lot of people don't really know much about this because it's not on the streaming services. You have to like find it on YouTube unless you have it on CD or something. It was self-produced by the band. This is the album that got them a record deal. They were discovered by Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit, and then he was kind of like freaked out by the album cover. He thought they were like Satan worshippers, but it's a really good album. It's heavier than probably most of their albums. The production is very raw. The sound is a mix of like extreme metal and grunge. It's a concept album about a person who is depressed and eventually kills himself. It's very dark. It's kind of an album I probably should do a full review because there's like a lot going on. I think this is worthy of like a track-by-track analysis. There's also an early version of Mud Shovel that would appear on Dysfunction. Right now I have it at number 4.
I'm too stubborn to get any help. No.
And number 3, Confessions of the Fallen. This is the new one. Great comeback album. They were going for that Dysfunction and Break the Cycle sound. I think they were successful doing it. All the songs are well written, a mix of heaviness and melody. They got a few ballads. You got Here and Now and some other great songs. Cycle of Hurting. It's a solid album, has elements of like most of their albums from the past, especially like the ones from like the mid 2000s. They have some like harsh vocals in this one, like which can be heard on songs like Lowest in Me. There's some cool deep cuts, Out of Time, that has like a post grunge type of sound, something like the 14 Shades or Chapter 5 sound. Overall, it's a very good, well-rounded type of album. Has both the softer emotional songs and they're known for and the heavier ones from like the first few albums. So for that reason, I have it at number 3. Number 2 might be kind of a surprise. You might have thought it was 1, but I have Break the Cycle. This was the album that brought them into the mainstream. They had the hit single called It's Been a While that was on MTV all the time. It was on alternative radio all the time. It was like a very mainstream song. Then they had the studio version of Outside, which was another radio hit before this album came out. The live version was the big hit, but they had the studio version. And on this band, or this album, the band starts to get softer, moves more into a post-grunge sound, but the album is still very good. The album had a few singles. We got Fade, For You, Epiphany. There's some good deep cuts. You got the album opener, Open Your Eyes, with that post-grunge sound, the emotional lyrics. Pressure, one of the heavier songs, has a sound close to that Dysfunction album with that notably thick bass guitar sound. Can't Believe is another good deep cut, one of the heavier tracks and one of the few songs that still uses the harsh vocals. Overall, a solid album. I would say It's Been a While was overplayed. That's probably the only reason I don't have it at number 1. But the album is awesome. And I have it at number 2. It was almost 1. But my number 1 is... My number 1 is Dysfunction from 1999. This was close with Break the Cycle. I think it's a little better. The album does not have any weak songs. I listened to it start to finish anytime. Their major label debut. It's a solid album. One of their heaviest albums. Aaron Lewis uses the mix of clean vocals and harsh screams. Lots of great songs here. You got the album opener, Suffocate. Really heavy song along the lines of like Korn. Just Go is one of the more laid-back songs with that Alice in Chains grunge style with cleaner singing. They have some heavy tracks like Raw, which has that classic nu metal sound and a mix of clean and heavy vocals. There's Mud Shovel, that's the classic that starts with the iconic bass line and the phase shifter guitar effects. Followed by Home, another one of their laid-back songs with emotional lyrics and clean guitars. I think Home is kind of like the blueprint of what they would be doing later. But solid album, and for that reason, I have it at number 1. That is all. Let me know your ranking in the comments. Please remember to like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Check out my full review of Confessions of the Fallen right there if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next one.